I never understood why they don't teach personal finance in high school and in college. It's one of the few topics that no matter what field you go into for your career, you're gonna need to know this, right? Like someone who goes into um, healthcare might not necessarily need to know cooking recipes. Someone who goes into culinary school might not necessarily need to know the responsibilities of a police officer. A math teacher might not need to know the job responsibilities of a football coach. Like there's so many different career paths that people can go into, and the majority of the information that we're taught, especially in high school, is kind of irrelevant. We really don't use most of the information that we're taught in high school because a lot of the career paths that people go into, that information doesn't apply to them. So they end up forgetting the information, and really all that time was wasted. So the question becomes, is there any information or topics that everyone needs to know? I could think of one. It's personal finance. But for some reason, they don't teach personal finance in high school. Yet every single person who graduates high school, maybe goes to college or maybe starts working, they need to know how to handle their money because they're going to make money. So they need to know how to budget, invest, how credit cards work, how retirement accounts work. That all these different things that you need to know about, yet we're not taught about. So what I want to do today is talk about 5 money mistakes that you need to avoid in your 20s. And these are pretty common mistakes, and I feel like a lot of people just have to learn these lessons the hard way. So I'm hoping that this video can kind of expedite that process for a lot of people, especially the younger people who are maybe just getting into, the working world. But even if you've been out of high school and out of college for a while and you still feel like you're struggling with finances, this is definitely going to help you out. Like these are some tips and tricks and kind of things to think about that'll definitely help your personal financial situation. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing that you need to avoid when you're in your 20s is overspending on lifestyle upgrades. The most common one that I think I see is the car. It is crazy to me how many people purchase cars that they cannot afford. It's like, not to mention all the other forms of debt that people normally have when they're coming out of college, like student loans. A lot of people have credit card debt as well. But then they'll go like 30, 40, 50 grand in additional debt to get a car that they really don't need. And their car payments are anywhere from like 400 to like $700 a month. And I'm like, all that money that you're spending every month to drive this car that's way too expensive for you could be put elsewhere. It could be used to pay off your debt. It could be used to save and build up an emergency fund. It could be used to invest. Like overspending on lifestyle upgrades is just the biggest mistake that I see people making. And excuse me, it's a costly one, man. Like if you do this throughout your 20s and you finally realize in your 30s like the mistake you're making, I don't want to say it's too late by then, but you dug yourself in a pretty deep hole. And the car is just one example. Like another one is like always getting the newest phone, or maybe going on expensive vacations all the time, or upgrading your wardrobe and getting really expensive clothes that you don't need. Like anything like that that you really don't need but you just want, it's a waste of money, man. Your money could be spent elsewhere and it could be put to a much better purpose. So definitely avoid overspending on lifestyle upgrades. You don't need the newest stuff all the time. You don't need the nicest car. You don't need to go on the nicest vacations. You don't need to shop at the nicest grocery store. Like go to a cheaper version. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Aldi. You don't have to shop at like Harris Teeter or Target or any other expensive places that um, that expensive grocery stores near you. Like just cut back on that stuff. Humble yourself a little bit. You don't need all that stuff. It'll pay off in the long run. And if you do that, you'll get to a point where you don't even have to look at the price tags on things anymore. But for now, you need to. You need to be mindful of it. So that's number one. Number two is ignoring budgeting early on. This is a huge mistake as well because again, people don't understand how to handle their money because we're never taught it in high school. So you need to proactively learn how to budget. You need to understand how much money's coming in, how much money's going out, and you need to be mindful of it and you need to be intentional with it. Like you need to create a plan and say, here's how much I make. Here's how much I want to spend on my basic necessities. Here's how much I need to pay off my debt. Here's how much I want to save. Here's how much I want to invest. Like you should be able to decide where every single dollar you make goes. And without that, you're kind of just walking blind through life, financially speaking. Um, so definitely, take initiative, learn how to budget. There's so many different ways to budget. So find what works for you. Some people prefer not to use credit cards and they just use their debit card because it's easier for them to kind of comprehend where their money's at, how much money they have. So that's an option. Some people basically operate fully in cash, and when they're out of cash, they're out of money. Other people like to track everything on an Excel sheet. Like there's plenty of different ways to budget. Figure out what works for you. That's all. So the third mistake, and this is another huge one, huge mistake that people make in their 20s, is that they fall into high interest debt, man. They run up those credit cards, they take out personal loans, they take out high interest car loans, and all of a sudden they're like 40 or 50 grand in high interest debt. And boy, is that a mistake. You could end up paying hundreds of dollars a month just in interest. That is money coming out of your pocket just because you borrowed money at a high interest rate. Whatever you do, do not run up your credit cards. Do not carry balances. Do not take out high interest loans. This is like a massive wealth killer. You have to avoid this at all costs. The best way to go about this is if you can't afford to buy something in cash, like if you don't have the money in your bank account, don't buy it. You can't afford it. And I mean that. Like, cut back on everything if you have to. As long as you're making some form of money, you should be able to take care of your basic needs like rent, utilities, basic food needs like car insurance, your phone. But other than that, don't buy anything if you don't have the money to pay for it right now. If you have to put it on a credit card and you can't pay that credit card off, you can't afford that. So don't even bother buying it. That's a huge mistake that people make in their 20s, and by the time they're in their 30s, they have a massive amount of debt that they have to go and pay off, and they're just paying so much money every month in interest. It's really sad. So definitely avoid those high interest credit cards and loans and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's that. Number 4 is not investing sooner. We've all heard this before. The earlier you start investing, the better. I'm not going to harp on this one too much. All I'm going to say is, if you start investing at 30 instead of 20, the difference in the amount of money that you will have when you're in your like 50s, 60s, and 70s is quite literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And I know 10 years doesn't seem like it would be that much of a difference. Like people like to enjoy their 20s and, oh, I'll figure it out in my 30s. Nah, you're literally costing yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars if you start investing at 30 instead of 20. So just get started. The sooner the better. Time is your best friend when it comes to investing, so just get started. The fifth and final mistake that I see people making in their 20s is not having an emergency fund. Emergency funds are extremely important because you never know when something bad's going to happen. You might have a medical bill that you need to pay for, or maybe your car breaks down and you have to throw like $2,000 into it. The list goes on and on. There's plenty of things that can come up that would cost you money. And if you don't have some money set aside to take care of this, it could set you back months, if not years. So definitely start saving, putting some money aside every month for an emergency fund. That way, when something bad happens, it will suck, but it will be more of an inconvenience than a problem. When you don't have an emergency fund and one of these problems pops up, you end up putting it on a credit card, and then you end up in that high interest debt, as I mentioned before. And just like that, you're set back months. Then you have to pay off that debt. Then you have to build up your emergency fund. That's going to take you months to do. So just get ahead of the game, start putting some money aside now, build up that emergency fund. And if and when something happens, which it probably will because that's life, you'll have some money set aside to take care of it. And that problem will become an inconvenience. That's all it is. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the money mistakes that people make in their 20s and hopefully bring them to your attention so you can avoid them. If you are new here, I post all kinds of content about personal finance, life experiences, personal experiences, just my opinion on different things. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you checking in with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.